Watching the big picture with me, Frank Razan Pereira. Well, the government has taken steps to ease conditions for the manufacturing sector to resume operations. The steps include allowing industries outside the limits of municipalities and municipal corporations to start operations, freeing up transportation of goods, and setting guidelines for the movement of stay of labor. The steps could help several companies to restart operations. Companies who had cut production can now plan to bring back operations to normal levels. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze the way forward for manufacturing. Joining me on the program today are Aruna Sharma, former Secretary, Ministry of Steel, Government of India; Subhamoy Bhattacharjee, Consulting Editor of the Business Standard; and Sanjay Agarwal, Senior Vice President, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. So, Agarwal, let me begin the program with you. Let's first analyze and try and understand the kind of impact that the coronavirus pandemic has had on manufacturing in India and elsewhere as well.
You see, firstly, I must say that the coronavirus impact, whatever is there on the manufacturing, it is definitely a huge impact. But at the same time, we must acknowledge that it was very much needed. The government did the right thing. We were among the first countries probably in the world to ban all foreign or to rather cancel all foreign visas. I think we had the first major lockdown among the major countries. I think that has really helped us restrict the number of cases. We are still a much smaller number than US and Spain and Italy and other countries. So all that is very welcome. But then at the same time, we must appreciate that the lockdown having been so sudden, without giving any time for preparation, there have been a lot of difficulties and glitches for everybody concerned. MSMEs, being less organized by nature, have had to bear a much bigger brunt of problems, a much bigger share of problems than probably some more organized sectors. The difficulties beginning from as simple a thing as going from point A to point B, or having your finished product ready, which you are unable to ship, having shipped the material stuck on the highways, not being able to reach the customer, and you are afraid where the driver has run away with the keys and the goods are lying unattended, or to whether even if the goods are delivered to the customer, then how to actually present the bill to the customer. If you are able to actually deliver and you think you can present the bill to the customer, then the banks are not open and you don't have the physical documents to be able to present them to the bank for a letter of credit, for example. Now, if you just keep counting the issues, there are so many that they seem to become unsurmountable for a small entrepreneur. Because for an MSME, you don't have a specialist doing everything. It's the same small team of people doing everything. And the difficulties involved are multiplied because of the problems in cash flow. We understand the government's intent in saying that, okay, you are not going to sack anybody and you're going to pay everybody. But, maybe for 8 working days or 10 days out of 30 in the month of March, one could have probably, any business which is a going concern or a running business must be able to afford at least that much. But going forward, it's going to be extremely difficult for businesses to, continue to bear the salaries and wages of people who are actually not working. Work at home is fine, but that is limited to a few sectors, a few parts of the economy, and there are many, especially in industry, it's not feasible to have work at home. There might be some people like an accountant or somebody who might manage to work from home. So if you consider all these things and top of that, the payments are not coming. You see, after the lockdown, the biggest issue has been that everybody was disturbed. Nobody even had most of the people didn't even have the means to try and remit money if they have had it in their account. So somebody needed the money to pay his workers.
Okay, right. Okay, points taken. Now let me take that particular aspect forward. So, Ms. Sharma, what are the biggest challenges really as far as the manufacturing sector is concerned?
Look at the challenges that manufacturing sector will have. The first one is going to be liquidity of funds, because now second is going to be labor availability. because the labor which is stuck, the moment lockdown is open, they will like to go back home and see that that family is good. They are at rest. They will like to meet their families, stock up for their families, and then come back. So easily a fortnight to a month, you can say, even for the labor who is stuck. The labor which manage to reach their homes, for them they need an assurance that there is not going to be again a lockdown. And once they come and join back, it's going to be a continued work as they are moving ahead. So under this scenario, the labor is going to be a problem for at least a fortnight to a month. And to add to that is what very rightly has been said is about the liquidity problems, because floating money in their accounts and everything, the whole chain is disrupted. And under this disruption of chain, it is going to be a real serious issue as to how they will ensure that money is there. And this is where the whole problem is, that a small manufacturer, the moment it is shut down, to reopen, it needs a much more effort. Then there is no demand in the market. So even if they are manufacturing, the money has to flow and the people have to have a demand. So that the moment it reaches the market, there has to be a market open to start buying. At this moment of time, even a consumer is holding money. They are not very sure whether this is a time to spend or to be minimalistic or to go ahead. Then you are exposed, because world market is also equally bad. So the continued orders is also the fourth issue, which is going to hit them. So these are the four kinds of problems they'll have to immediately handle to come back on rail and start the manufacturing.
All right, so I want to take this point that was being made by Ms. Sharma forward with you, Shubhama. You know, this issue of demand. Now, it's all okay for the manufacturers or for the industry to open shop, but where is the demand going to come from? Is that going to be a challenge? Is that going to be an issue?
Well, we frankly speaking have to agree that this is a challenge, because we have never had a situation where an economy has practically been shut down and then been reopened. So frankly, to say that we have a rule book available, no, we don't have. Is demand going to come back? Let me look at it this way. What Ms. Sharma said is absolutely right. What Sanjay said is also right, that initially there's a liquidity problem. But I suppose the first thing that will happen is people will start buying food items. Once they start buying food items, food and related sectors, packaging will start moving. Along with that, the next stage will be the logistics of those who are transporting those. Gradually, that starts moving on into the transport sectors. And it's almost like blood coming back into a system. You gradually see more areas becoming red instead of being absolutely white. So the system starts getting the capillaries and others start coming back into action. So yes, demand will start. But for somebody, for instance, if somebody who's manufacturing, say, a steel mill, for instance, will probably see demand coming much later than what it would be for, say, a company which is manufacturing detergent. So that quarter by quarter change will have to be accepted, and there's no point saying that everybody should be able or will be able to get and feel demand coming back into the system. And this is a very complicated thing, because along with that, as Ms. Sharma also rightly pointed out, there is the question of liquidity. So gradually, as liquidity comes in, gives money to the operators, who then go back to the banks, and the banks start lending. So plenty of systems, plenty of organizations which had practically shut shop have to start coming back. There will be hiccups on the way, mind you. It will be because there are streamlining a system back. Again, it takes a hell of a complicated time. And I don't think the fact that many countries are still under the COVID impact, the export books will probably be shut for some time. Ports, for instance, have huge storage capacity problem. That's something that'll have to be sorted out. So many of those things will have to be sorted through as we go. So my sense is, if we take the first quarter, that May and June will just be the time when people will be getting back to production, to sort of dusting off the cobwebs in a way, so to say. The next quarter, we shall see some amount of inventory starting to move on. And by the quarter after that, you can then start thinking of additional production happening. That is the way sequence I see of what is going to happen in Indian economy, which is why you find that the most fund houses have said that in India, the growth rate this year will be negative. They're absolutely right. Because that's the way, if you look at these 3 quarters, you realize that's what's happening. The production line actually comes to being only by, say, 4th quarter.
Okay. All right, taking the discussion forward now, this point that Shubham is making, Sanjay Agarwal, is a very interesting one. You know, how the reset button or factory resets have been used, and it's an unprecedented time for us, and we are charting into uncharted waters. So, you know, at the end of the day, do you believe that we are ready to take up the challenges that lie ahead of us? And can we move forward?
You see, we are definitely ready to take up the challenges that are there. That's definitely there. But you know, it cannot be done without the full backing and support of the government of India. We have to understand that countries across the world have opened their wallets. They are going right up to 15% of their GDP in terms of stimulus for COVID-19. That's UK with a deficit of something like 2.5%. Even the US with a deficit of 4.5% plus is giving a 10% stimulus, and maybe if that 2 trillion becomes 4 trillion, which is also being talked about, we are talking of huge numbers. Now that is the sort of support that is needed for a stalled economic engine to come back. You know, it's a seizure. The engine is seized. It is not in anybody's control. But what has happened has happened. Now, to oil it back, to make it come back, you have to spend the money. You have to give working capital to the businesses. The MSMEs are definitely going to need at least 25% of the working capital they already have from the banks, at least on automatic basis, to be sanctioned to them. On the other hand, what has happened is that although the RBI has said that you must give 10% extra limits, their banks have ended up in the month of March debiting all the installments, all the EMIs, all the interest that they had on their books. So a person who had some reasonable balance in his books as of end of March, on the 1st of April found that his bank balance is zero. So the government has to come out and strongly support the trade and business. The businesses cannot be expected to pay the salaries for the lockdown period. Even for the industry, it's roughly 1/3 to 50% of the labor which will be allowed to come back to work. The balance 50% would still need to be paid by someone. So all these things have to be provided for, and the government has already announced something like 1.7 lakh crores. But what we need at the minimum today is something like 16 lakh crores, which would still be just 5% of the GDP.
Okay, all right. So the government also needs to give the industries a push and needs to hold the hand and take it forward.
And on top of that,
okay,
the basic point is for what Sukhmay mentioned, the demand. The demand is going to be generated basically by government spending. Government, private investment is not going to happen in the country now for some time to come. Right. It's the government which has to come out with huge construction projects to generate the demand.
Okay, all right. So, taking the discussion forward now, Ms. Sharma, does this also pose an opportunity really as far as manufacturing in the country is concerned? Because, let's not forget a few days ago, there was this news about Japan paying its companies over $2 billion to come out of China and set shop somewhere else in the world. So is there an opportunity for us as well?
Opportunity, no doubt about it. But then opportunity needs a holistic approach. You have to be consistent in your policy, and there has to be a credibility. There cannot be somersaults. And the example which was given of emerging holistic is very, very clear, because when we are talking about the banking, what he said, the moratorium was offered, but it was not back to back. So actually the people did not benefit. Then interest on interest was also there, so the benefit did not reach. Therefore, it needs a fine tuning when we are working upon it. A first boost to the infrastructure coming from government sector will go a very, very long way. because that boost will sort of in rural areas under Manrega, because after crop cutting, the labor will be free, will put some money in the hands of people. And similarly, the major construction works will give it a boost in a very big way by putting money, and that will push the fast moving commercial goods very, very quickly in the market, and the things will start flowing. And whereas the SMEs are concerned, this is an opportunity if they can tighten, go for automation more and more, become competitive and move ahead. The government in their policies, when you're pushing ahead, you have to remove the doubtfulness and to the manufacturers. You have to bring down your taxation system. The compliance has to take a back seat, and more so, the focus of the manufacturer has been to redo his manufacturing way or his assembly line and then move ahead with the success. And that is going to make the whole difference, because now it needs a complete focused attention. Then a working capital flow has to be very, very smooth when we are going ahead. RBI has gone ahead in bringing down the interest rates considerably, I must say. And they have also brought down the CRR, so the bankers will have more and more liquidity. But the fear factor from the bankers has to go away. They have to give the money. Some money will become bad money, but lots of money will be good money. And that is how you have to restart the cycle. So it is very important that, yes, it is an opportunity, but then we have to have a holistic look into a policy, no patchwork, no knee-jerk reactions, and then ensure that each sector's smaller issues are also taken care of so that they are able to sort of give it an impetus to that sector so that it is more permanent and more sustainable in nature.
Absolutely. All right. So, Shubhamoy, this issue of Indian manufacturing sector taking advantage of what's happening out there, Bangladesh has done it, Vietnam has done it, other countries in Southeast Asia, their economies are have done well over the recent past as well. So, is this something that we can make use of? We can turn the goodwill that we have received over the last few days because of the kind of efforts that we have put in to help the world when it comes to the coronavirus pandemic. Can we use that goodwill as a leverage as far as our economy and manufacturing is concerned as well?
Well, certainly we can. One of the things that's coming out clearly is that there's got to be a lot of forbearance, forbearance among everybody, saying that, if there is a problem in terms of a company's working capital, which might lead to a problem with the bank, the banks need to give a forbearance there. Similarly, when the government is giving out monetary SOPs to to companies, then there should be forbearance from the auditing entities. I mean, I think it might be a good, interesting idea to think that whether CAG, the auditor, or the CBC, for 1 year, could they sort of, take a forbearance holiday? That we shall not. This is a circumstance where there is so many things happening that we cannot introduce an added element of risk into the economy. So can there be a sort of a moratorium, a sort of a forbearance from all the auditing institutions? That I think would be necessary. It's quite a leap of faith by everybody. I understand what Sanjay is saying, that in terms of government giving support, but remember one thing, that the US economy or the UK economy deal in a currency, a dollar or a pound, whereas we deal in rupee. The cost of flooding our economy with cash could immediately, if not handled well, lead to a massive round of inflation. Even though inflation right now is absolutely very low, but the money, once it comes in, could actually create a problem in terms of the amount of product, because if the production hasn't really started, and as I said, production will not start initially, the first thing that could happen to a ravaged economy could be a massive spike in prices. These are not theoretical issues. These are practical issues. And if that happens for our laborers, we are talking about our MSMEs, it can be a very severe problem. We can't have those sort of challenges coming in. So support, yes, support, but I would feel that the support has to be done through the sectors where there is more multiplier effect, which is the lower income groups. That is where the support has to come. we'll have to do a sort of a forbearance for the higher income groups and for the production, for the manufacturing sector. What the government needs to do is, I would think, more than cash support, forbearance. Let the RBI make it clear to the banks that, support what Sanjay was talking about in terms of, allowing a more softer understanding of what is needed for them rather than playing by the rules. That, I think, would be very useful. Similarly, on export issues, exporters, if they should be tied up with paperwork at this stage, we'll be losing precious time. These are the sort of things. So different sectors will be needing different strokes, and that is how the way we'll have to go about forward. That's, as of now, I mean, that's the way I would look at it.
Okay, talking about the way forward, I'm going to get closing comments from all my guests now on the best way forward. Starting first with you, Sanjay Agarwal.
The best way forward, I would again like to repeat, at the risk of contradicting Sukhmoy, is that the government has to come out with a package to spend. And let me tell you, we're not talking about flooding the economy with hot rupees. What we are talking about is, when we talk of a package, for example, if the salary which the MSME owner does not have, and you force him to pay, or your district magistrates or your state secretaries bring out circulars saying that owners who do not pay the salary in time will be prosecuted. That is not generating, the money is not going to come out of thin air. Somebody has to pay those workers, and that money has to be generated by a business or by the economy. If that money is not being generated and the government wants those workers to be fed, the government has to come out with a scheme of if not paying the full salary, but at least of some subsistence level, whether through the employer or directly, whether through DBT or whatever manner it is deemed fit. But the government will have to do that. That is number one. Number two, talk about typical Keynesian economics, which used to say that, okay, what was the New Deal in the US in the 1930s after the Depression? Dig ditches and fill them up as long as you are distributing money to the people so that they can go out and spend in the market, which will start up the engine of the economy which is seized up. I'm not saying dig ditches and fill them up. I am saying there is an opportunity right now to build huge things, and there is a lot of money to be spent. Let us forget about everything else. The government has already announced 100 lakh crore national infrastructure pipeline, which is supposed to mean over 5 years, which means 20 lakhs crore of rupees per year. It was a bit backloaded, make it front-loaded. Spend that 20 lakh crores, so that is your more than the package that we are asking for. That 20 lakh crores was to have been mobilized by the government in any case, right? So that again would have come into the economy, do those construction projects, make those dams or roads or ports or whatever you need to do. That is the biggest multiplier because the cheapest labor will be involved in that, and you will be creating demand for all the goods in the economy. That's my submission.
Okay, all right. And Aruna Sharma, what's the best way forward?
Taking the cue from there, the best way forward is first, start off all your infrastructure projects with immediate effect, both in the rural and urban areas. See, in rural area, you don't have to look for new money. You already have Manrega, you have 14 Finance Commission, which is extended, or you call it 15. You have State Finance Commission money, which can trigger off the good infrastructure in every panchayat and every village. As far as the urban growth is concerned, we have to start off the big infrastructure, as has been rightly mentioned by Mr. Sanjay Agarwal. That will give in a boost, that will push in the money, and that will trigger lots of sectors which are related to infrastructure. So number one has to be infrastructure. Number two is social protection cannot continue for long, even for government. How long can you keep on transferring the cash benefits? Because that is non-productive, that is get consumed. Whereas if you put that money in infrastructure and they earn their wages, then yes, that is going to make the whole difference. The second one is that your GST, there could be a little reduction in the GST percentage so that there is little more liquidity available in the hands of the people. Now, this is something, again, not a big inflow of money. The government treasury itself is fighting the battle of balancing out their expenses. So that will go a very, very long way because that will not require any inflow. That will prevent an outflow. But if it triggers the manufacture in absolute terms, government 1.5 years down the line will be earning much more through the GST, even though the percentage has been brought down. The third one, which I will like to say that government can easily do, and which Mr. Bhattacharjee was rightly saying, was that the bankers have to have a trust factor, that they have to sort of give, lend, and lend. It is very important. The bankers do have liquidity, but they are scared to pass it on to the people who badly need it. And in real sense, the IBC has to come out very strongly to follow in letter and spirit what RBI has said it very, very clearly, to pass on the moratorium to every term loan, to bring down the interest rates immediately, to give the advantage of hand-holding immediately. And that will go a long way if you're working. So if you work on 3 steps, the first is infra, the second, social protection to a limited extent, but reduce the GST as they are going ahead with it. And third, of course, is the bankers making the working capital easily available.
Absolutely. And Shubhamoy, close the show for us with the concluding remarks.
Yeah, I think these are all excellent ideas. Infrastructure and GST. In fact, GST today, reducing it sharply to a single sort of a rate and bringing in petroleum and coal into it and raising the tax on gold can raise an awesome amount of money. At the same time, reducing the rates on GST will actually reduce the pressure on the lower income sectors, because petroleum goods enter a lot of products. So the reduction in rates would have a major impact there. So yes, those are very extremely good ideas. Infrastructure is basically that standard Keynesian answer that you start doing projects from the government so that the money is raised for the infrastructure for the workers. It is actually also necessary because the workers will need social distancing, and probably only a government entity can ensure that the right spacing and space and everything is created for the workers to be able to come back to a safe working environment. So yes, I suppose there are lots of options. It's a great challenging opportunity for all of us to be able to do it. And let's see how far we can take this as an opportunity. The monsoon is saying 100% of the long period average is going to be this year. So that's a wonderful news. So it's a time to rebuild.
Oh, absolutely. It's a time to rebuild. The reset button has been pushed. Of course, these are difficult times. It remains to be seen how we react and how we go forward is what the panelists are suggesting. There are several opportunities, and if we move in the right direction, we can ensure that we capture